Namaskar, good evening viewers. You're watching the news with your host Kriti Mishra. Get ready for your daily dose of national and global developments without cacophony. First up, the headlines this Friday evening. Centre approves distribution of nutritious rice under PDS, OK's continuation of Atal Innovation Mission till March 2023. Supreme Court empowers Monitoring Committee to oversee safety of 126-year-old Mulla Periyar Dam. For the 11th time in a row, the Reserve Bank keeps rates constant, reduces GDP estimates, tax collections crossed record 27 lakh crore in last financial year. 2611 Mumbai blast accused and JEM founder Hafiz Saeed sentenced to 32 years in 2 cases by Pakistan court. And 30 people killed in Ukraine railway station attack, more than 100 injured. Russia suspended from Human Rights Council. On to our flash news segment now. NDA backs 13 seats in Legislative Council elections in Bihar. Over 51% of loans sanctioned under Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana to SC, ST and OBC, says Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Over 3 crore houses built under PMAY with participation of people, says Prime Minister Modi. Kerala lifts COVID-19 restrictions in the wake of decreasing caseload in the state. Government constitutes animation, visual effects, gaming and comics promotion task force to serving Indian markets and global demand. Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan to face no trust motion on Saturday. India desires normal relations with Pakistan, onus on Islamabad to create conducive atmosphere, says government. India welcomes International Energy Agency's move for collective oil stock release of 120 million barrels. Calcutta High Court hands over murder probe of TMC leader Bahadur Sheikh to CBI in Birbhum. J&K government starts Air Theatre in Dal Lake in Srinagar as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now news from the world of business and economy. The Union Cabinet has approved a proposal to distribute extra nutritional rice or fortified rice in all government schemes. Union Minister Anurag Thakur informed the media about the Union Cabinet decisions taken on Thursday. Fortified rice will be distributed in 3 phases under the public distribution system and other schemes. All state and union territories will implement it in a phased manner by 2024. The centre will bear the annual cost of 2,700 crore on the scheme. Food Corporation of India and state agencies have purchased 88.65 lakh tons of the fortified rice.
प्रथम चरणों में पीएम पोषण और आईसीडीएस योजनाओं के अंतर्गत अब सभी आंगनवाड़ियों में और सभी विद्यालयों में मध्याह्न भोजन के लिए फोर्टिफाइड राइस की आपूर्ति की जाएगी। प्रतिवर्ष लगभग 2,700 करोड़ रुपया खर्च आएगा और कुल मिलाकर 4,270 करोड़ रुपया इसके ऊपर खर्च आने का अनुमान है, जो सारे का सारा खर्च भारत सरकार ही करेगी।
And apart from this, the Union Cabinet has also approved the extension of Atal Innovation Mission till March 2023. Over 2,000 crore will be spent on this. 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs, 101 Atal Incubation Centres and 50 Atal Community Innovation Centres will be set up under the mission. 200 startups will be supported through Atal New India Challenges. Apart from this, the government has also approved the proposal for signing an MOU between SEBI and Financial Regulatory Commission, Mongolia. The agreement will contribute to strengthening the information sharing framework for effective enforcement of security laws and assist in creation of a technical assistance program. And moving on now, the Reserve Bank of India has kept borrowing costs unchanged at a record low for the 11th time in a row in a bid to continue to support economic growth despite inflation edging higher in the aftermath of Ukraine-Russia conflict. Announcing the first bi-monthly review of the monetary policy of new fiscal, the RBI raised the inflation forecast from 4.5% to 5.7% for fiscal 2022-23. The RBI said that the Ukraine-Russia conflict and subsequent rise in energy prices will have an impact on Indian economy. It also lowered the economic growth forecast to 7.2% for 2022-23 fiscal from the previous 7.8%. To support housing industry, RBI extended the rationalized home loan norms by another year till March 31st, 2023.
The Monetary Policy Committee, that is MPC, met on 6th, 7th and 8th April, and based on an assessment of the macroeconomic situation and the outlook, voted unanimously to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 4%. The MPC also decided unanimously to remain accommodative while focusing on withdrawal of accommodation to ensure that inflation remains within the target going forward while supporting growth.
And joining us with the insights on RBI's monetary policy is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Welcome to the news, Vishal. After 3 years of attempting to push growth, the Reserve Bank of India is shifting its policy priorities for tackling the rising inflationary pressures. Though the apex bank kept the benchmark rates unchanged, it has adopted an accommodative stance. What does that mean for our economy?
Well, it's very interesting and important as well here, Kriti, because as you pointed out and as we heard the RBI governor also saying, this is the first time in 3 years that the focus is now shifting from growth to inflation management. And that's quite important as well, because the experts have been pointing out, given the global geopolitical situation, it is really important to shift focus there. And the numbers which have been mentioned by the RBI governor in the press conference there after the Monetary Policy Committee meeting also are indicative of that fact itself, slashing the growth rate down to 7.2% and projection of inflation as far as concerned. There is a rise of around 120 BPS basis points. So that is a clear indication that the focus should be inflation management now, and that's what the central bank seems to be doing. Although as far as the repo rates are concerned, that's an accommodative stance, but a clear indication that when we move on to the next MPC review, perhaps this stance will change to neutral, and from there onwards, or rather from here onwards itself, the entire momentum of the policy decisions will focus on how to tackle the issue of inflation, given the fact that there is a lot of international churning going on various aspects, supply chains, and crude oil as well, apart from food basket also, which is a very, very important ingredient of the WPI basket, because that's around 30 to 40%. So if you look at the overall situation globally also, the focus, the experts have been pointing out, that should have shifted, and the central bank seems to have done that itself, moving away from the growth right now for the moment and focusing on inflation management.
Absolutely, but that's going to be a Herculean task. You were talking about geopolitical crisis, oil prices risks that have also prodded RBI to truncate FY23 growth projections. Now, the biggest challenge is to adopt a calibrated liquidity management approach and boost credit growth as well, Vishal.
Well, indeed, and that is a challenge which looks like, if you look deeper into the MPC's detailed analysis as far as liquidity management is concerned, that seems to be taken care of on the both ends by the RBI. And that is why, when we look at the repo rates, and it has been unchanged for almost 3 years now. And the statement coming in from the RBI governor pointing out clearly that this is an accommodative stance, but this is the end of the accommodation from here onwards. Is a clear indication that, of course, it is going to be a Herculean task, and it can't be just the central bank itself. There will have to be, complementary policy decisions coming in from the government as well. And of course, the international market scenario and the geopolitical situation will also play an important role. So there are challenges on the road from here onwards. But then it looks like, given the RBI statement and the way the RBI is planning to move ahead, it seems our economy and the central bank seems very prepared for it.
Absolutely, Vishal. Thank you so much for those updates there. And moving on now, government's tax revenue have seen an impressive 34% growth, exceeding the union budget estimates. Total tax revenue for 2021-22 has been 27.07 lakh crore rupees, surpassing last year's collections of 20.27 lakh crore rupees. According to Finance Ministry, this growth in revenue was led by a growth of 49% in direct taxes and supported by 20% growth in indirect taxes. And the Supreme Court today reiterated that the safety of the Mulla Periyar Dam needs immediate attention. Issuing an interim order on the matter, it said the Supreme Court appointed monitoring committee will discharge all functions and powers of the National Dam Safety Authority till such time as the regular national authority under the Dam Safety Act 2021 takes effect. The court said a technical expert member, each from Kerala and Tamil Nadu, will be included to strengthen the existing monitoring committee. And in other national news, the Union Health Ministry is allowing booster doses of COVID-19 vaccine to all people above 18 years at private centres from 10th of April. People who took their second dose 9 months ago or prior will be eligible for the dose. The Finance Ministry has released 7,183 crore to 14 states as the first instalment of revenue deficit grant. The grant is based on the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission. Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Punjab, Rajasthan, Sikkim, Tripura, Uttarakhand and West Bengal are the recipients. The Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana completed 7 years on Friday. More than 34 crore, 42 lakh loans worth 18 lakh 60,000 crore have been sanctioned under the scheme so far. 68% have been given to women entrepreneurs. Prime Minister Modi launched the scheme in April 2015. Arguments were concluded on the bail plea of former Bihar Chief Minister and RJD Chief Lalu Prasad Yadav, convicted in the Fordor scam. The court has fixed April 22nd for further hearing. Coming up on the other side, art is not just about how it looks, how it feels is even more important. Welcome, you're watching the news. Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has invited Australian companies to invest in India. Goyal assured Australian companies that they will have 100% ownership of their entities, besides maintaining their technology and business secrecy. Goyal said India and Australia have signed for economic cooperation and development to strengthen economic ties. Both nations can increase mutual cooperation in areas like skill development, education services, information technology, manufacturing and Internet of Things. Piyush Goyal said both countries can work together on developing the 5G telecom system. Now news from Russia and Ukraine conflict. Members of the European Union have frozen almost $32.6 billion in Russian and Belarusian assets. This includes assets like helicopters, real estate, boats or artwork. The EU has also imposed sanctions on two daughters of Russian President Putin as part of a new package of measures targeting Russia's economy and businessmen.
More than half of the member states have already reported to the Commission on measures taken to freeze assets. Assets frozen in the EU so far are worth almost 30 billion euros. This includes assets such as helicopters, real estate, boats or artwork. Also, about 196 billion euros of transactions have been blocked as part of enforcing the sanctions.
And Russia is surviving the sanctions and there is no need to panic. Russian Prime Minister gave this assurance to the parliament. The Russian Prime Minister said there were more than 6,000 sanctions on Russia, but its OKs and stock markets are working fine. He added that Russian companies were working on an online store for apps, an alternative to App Store and Google Play that should start operating this summer.
Банк России и правительство совместными усилиями смогли не допустить ее коллапса, сохранить доверие граждан к ней. Платежи внутри страны идут без перебоев, стабилизируется фондовый рынок и курс рубля. вряд ли какая-либо другая страна или другое государство могло бы с этим справиться.
At least 39 people were killed and 87 wounded in a missile strike on Friday on a railway station in East Ukraine. The station was packed with women, children, and elderly trying to flee. UK Secretary of State for Defence termed the attack a war crime. Russia has, however, denied any involvement in the attack. European Commission President boarded a train in Poland on Friday ahead of her planned trip to Kiev, along with EU's top diplomat Joseph Borrell and Slovak Prime Minister. Ukrainian President Zelensky is slated to have talks in Kiev with her. And Japan expelled 8 Russian diplomats over Russia's attack on Ukraine. The decision was announced by Japanese Foreign Ministry spokesman. Deputy Foreign Minister has informed Russian ambassador about the development. And more news from across the globe. And talking about Pakistan now, an anti-terror court in Pakistan sentenced 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed to jail for 32 years. The founder of the terror group, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the chief of Jamaat-ud-Dawa was sentenced in 2 cases. The court also ordered all his assets be seized and fined. The UN-designated terrorist has 3,40,000 rupees. Reports suggest that a mosque and madrasa that Hafiz Saeed allegedly built will be taken over. In 2020, Saeed was sentenced to 15 years in jail. French voters will cast their ballots on Sunday to decide who will make it to the second round of France's presidential race. Opinion polls say that President Emmanuel Macron is the clear favorite in the race, yet a big unknown factor may prove decisive.
An unprecedented number of people in France say they are unsure who to vote for or do not intend to vote at all. Leaders from the left to the far right are hoping to sway these voters in the election on Sunday. Among them is French nationalist leader Marine Le Pen.
Il y a un lien évident entre l'explosion de l'insécurité et ces vagues d'immigration que nous subissons. Mais pas seulement. Qui peut également nier l'impact de l'immigration sur nos services publics, la saturation de nos hôpitaux, le manque de logements sociaux et l'engorgement de notre système judiciaire?
Seeking re-election, pro-European centrist French President Macron is focusing on wooing leftist voters with liberal proposals.
Collectivement, j'ai moins entendu dire qu'elle était d'extrême droite. Et moi, je le redis, je pense qu'il faut continuer à dire quelle est la vérité des projets. En les respectant, moi je respecte toutes les Françaises, tous les Français, quoi qu'ils croient. Mais il y a un tandem qui est là en train d'avancer, avec des idées d'extrême droite qu'on connaît depuis longtemps, qui sont portées par un clan et un nouveau venu. Je les combats avec force, mais je ne les banalise pas.
Many candidates are challenging Macron's bid for a second term. According to the opinion polls, far-left leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon is in third position. Far-right candidate Éric Zemmour and conservative contender Valérie Pécresse are other key challengers. Many in Macron's campaign fear that his supporters may not go to polling stations because they already think he will win, while those angry at his policies will make sure to vote. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in news from the US, Judge Brown Jackson joined President Joe Biden at the White House on Thursday afternoon to watch the Senate's confirmation vote. It shattered a historic barrier by securing her place as the first black female Supreme Court justice. Jackson was confirmed 53-47 with 3 Republican votes. She will take her seat this summer. Jackson will be just third black justice. And moving on, a group of lawmakers in the US introduced a bill in Congress to repeal about 380,000 unused visas based on family and employment to give opportunities to the large number of people waiting for green cards, especially in India. Immigrants coming from China can also get green card visa. And in our Globe Wrap segment, supporters and workers of Pakistan People's Party on Thursday celebrated the verdict of the Supreme Court to restore the National Assembly. Many gathered in Karachi waving flags, dancing and handing out sweets. The court blocked Prime Minister Imran Khan's bid to stay in power, ruling that his move to dissolve parliament and call for early elections was illegal. It set the stage for a no-confidence vote on Saturday. Thousands demonstrated in and around Peru's capital of Lima on Thursday in a series of often violent protests linked to rising fuel and food prices. Supporters of President are demanding that Congress be closed 2 days after he lifted a short-lived curfew to quell the ever-growing protests. Truckers and other transport workers have been protesting and striking over fuel and food prices, blocking some key highways. Devastating floods are causing havoc in Australia's New South Wales state. A man died in Cobbitty, southwest of Sydney, when his car was submerged by rising waters. Local media reported that Sydney region was badly hit, with more than 2,000 people ordered to evacuate. The Bureau of Met said rain will ease on Friday after Sydney reached its yearly average of rainfall in just 4 months on Thursday. Israeli police released surveillance video showing a Palestinian man walking next to a bar in Tel Aviv, who they said opened fire into the crowded place, killing 2 people and wounding over 10. The attack caused scenes of mass panic in the city. Israeli security forces said the attacker was tracked down after an overnight manhunt and killed near a mosque. It was the 4th deadly attack in Israel by Palestinians in 3 weeks. Saudi Arabia is sending its ambassador back to Lebanon after a diplomatic spat last year. State media reported that the kingdom made the decision after the calls and appeals of the moderate national political forces in Lebanon. The kingdom also said Lebanon had agreed to stop all political, military and security activities affecting it and other Gulf Arab nations. Lebanese Prime Minister welcomed the Saudi decision. And all the action from the sporting world. Seeded third in the tournament, 2-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu has progressed to the semi-finals of the Korea Open Super 500 badminton tournament. Sindhu will have to overcome second-seeded Korean An Seong to make it to the final. In the men's singles, Kidami Srikanth too has made it to the semi-finals for the Korea Open. In a battle between 2 former world number ones, it was world champions silver medalist Srikanth who rode on his power and precision to outwit local hope Son Wan Ho 21-12, 18-21, 21-12 in a quarter-final match that lasted over an hour. Going into the match, Srikanth carried a 4-7 record against the Korean, losing on the last 3 occasions. However, the Indian played better this time and came up trumps. Moving to cricket now, in the 16th match of the Indian Premier League, Punjab Kings are taking on Gujarat Titans at Mumbai's stadium. New entrants to the league, Gujarat Titans have won both the matches they have played till now. On the other hand, Punjab Kings have registered 2 wins and a loss in their 3 matches. The Lucknow Super Giants bowlers stifled Delhi Capitals and restricted them to 149 for the loss of 3 wickets, the third lowest 20-over total for the loss of 3 wickets or fewer in the IPL. With due around, 150 became an easy target for the Lucknow batters. India through to the semi-finals of Women's Junior World Cup for only the 2nd time in the history of the competition. India defeated Korea 3-0 with goals from Mumtaz Khan and Sangeeta Kumari. Mumtaz, who has 6 goals in the tournament so far, was named the player of the match. The Netherlands beat South Africa 5-0 to book their place in the semi-final match against India. And zipping on to Formula One now, Formula One's most successful team, Ferrari's promising start to the season continued today with the glamour team dominating free practice at the Australian Grand Prix. Last year's winners, Mercedes, though continued to struggle even at a revamped Albert Park. In golf, Tiger Woods has made his long-anticipated return to competitive golf at the Augusta Masters, where he had won the first of his 15 major titles 25 years ago as a 21-year-old in 1997. Woods has had to go through rehab, his right leg that has required multiple surgeries. A Kenyan artist is making art accessible to people with vision loss by including Braille in her artwork. Teena Benvara is also trying to raise funds for eye cataract surgeries for children through the sale of her art.
an explosion of color in an abstract painting. Kenyan artist Teena is also creating art for the visually impaired. The visually impaired do not see visuals. They do not dream in visuals or color. So the painting has a direct description of the color on braille. Benavra first begins by describing the color in braille. Benavra first begins by describing the color in braille.
The visually impaired usually respond to my art in a very open-minded way. Some can see in shadows depending on the lighting, how I've set it up. Some just want to read, some just want to feel. It just depends really individually on the person, on what they want to feel with paintings, because they've never done it before. So I think they're just as curious as what this is about as I am curious about how I can make them see art.
The aim of Benavra's project is to raise funds for eye cataract surgeries for children aged between 2 to 12 years old. Vinnie Avino lost her eyesight after an accident 12 years ago. This is one piece of artwork that has caught her attention.
In this painting, there is a message that has been written here. It's sky, and this symbolizes the sky, and there are some stars in it, these ones, like shining stars. And what comes to my realization is that there's a blue picture, because it's a galaxy and the sky is involved, so I imagine it's blue.
Art definitely is not just about how it looks. How it feels is also or even more important. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And before we sign off, a relook at the headlines now. Centre approves distribution of nutritious rice under PDS, OK's continuation of Atal Innovation Mission till March 2023. Supreme Court empowers monitoring committee to oversee safety of 126-year-old Mulla Periyar Dam. For the 11th time in a row, the Reserve Bank of India keeps rates constant, reduces GDP estimates. Tax collections crossed record 27 lakh crore in last financial year. 26/11 Mumbai blast accused and JEM founder Hafiz Saeed sentenced to 32 years in 2 cases by Pakistan court. And 30 people killed in Ukraine railway station attack, more than 100 injured. Russia suspended from Human Rights Council. So viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Namaskar and take care.